Welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited to have a very special guest on our show today, Dr. Ebony Gray. Dr. Ebony Gray is a best-selling author, keynote speaker, certified AI consultant, federal private sector career strategist, and she's the CEO and founder of 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓 Consulting Group. You don't want to go anywhere because today we have a power-packed episode. We're going to share about being purpose to pivot, taking back your power, and we're going to talk about information that is critical for professionals as it relates to being purpose to pivot and taking back your power.
So purpose to pivot, taking back your power means staying ready so you don't have to get ready. It means making sure you have your starting five, your coach, your stakeholders, your mentors, helping you to prepare for those next steps, even before you even think about it. It also means getting that 2-page resume together for the federal employees, or always making sure your resume is together and revised. And most importantly, it means keeping track of all your many accomplishments so you don't have to scramble to try to figure it out. And you have to get your finances ready. Be prepared. Do you have your 3-month savings? Do you have your retirement investment set up? Do you understand what it would take for you to thrive and survive if you don't have a job tomorrow? Are you preparing for what succession plan, retirement, whatever it is that you're planning over, let's say, next 3 to 5 years? So we are going to talk taking your power back so you don't have to get ready, you stay ready for the pivot.
So don't go anywhere. This is a power-packed episode that you don't want to miss. And we'll be right back after these sponsor messages. Today's episode of Purpose Today is brought to you by the Purpose Professionals community in partnership with Purpose Today Global. The Purpose Professionals community is designed for professionals and entrepreneurs who are intentional. They're intentional about aligning their profession with their purpose. This community will help you to grow professionally. It'll help you to pivot in your career. It'll also help you as a business owner to purposely align your business. And so if you're a professional who wants to network with like-minded professionals, join the Purpose Professionals community on School by scanning the QR code or searching for Purpose Professionals on School. Welcome back to Purpose Today. So excited to have Dr. Ebony Gray here today on Purpose Today. And so, Dr. Gray, thank you so much and welcome to Purpose Today. So I want us to
Thank you so
jump.
much, Dr. Dobson, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. So I want us to jump right in. I know that many of our audience may not be familiar with you. I'm excited to have you as a friend and fellow Air Force veteran sister, and just truly blessed that we've been able to navigate and grow through so many different phases of our lives. And so, can you share a little bit about yourself with our viewers?
Yes, I am Dr. Ebony Gray. I'm the CEO of 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓 Consulting Group and 𝐂𝐍𝐍 Construction Group. I am a woman developer and graduate of Developer Baltimore. And my sole purpose in life with 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓 Consulting Group is to simplify government contracting for the everyday entrepreneur. I am the best-selling author of 3 books: A Guide to Unlocking Federal Employment, and also Beyond the Lens, and of course, my pre-K book. So I am all about helping the youth, the transitioning professionals, and future leaders to become their best selves and to help them pivot into a life of purpose.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. I really appreciate that wonderful insight about yourself. And so I know that God has blessed you, to have a thriving business, a successful career, and you have so much expertise. And your expertise spans so many different sectors. You have expertise in the public sector, the private sector, and even the nonprofit sector. And so I know that you have this wealth of knowledge that you can share with our viewers. So can you just share your perspective on, the current landscape and what key approaches that professionals can use to ensure that they remained positioned for success in their careers?
Yes. So, with the current landscape, with the current federal government being furloughed, the reduction in force, the delayed um, the delayed retirement program, basically, the one thing that has become very relevant is we have to get uncomfortable. Many of us have been comfortable where we are, right? I'm going to retire from this good government job. I'm going to navigate into the contract world post military. That's not necessarily the reality currently. So what else? What else can you do if you're retiring early, or maybe you had to resign early from the federal government? What next? What values, what skill set, what network do you have in order to step into that what next? If you're an entrepreneur, maybe your whole portfolio was federal contracting and those federal contracts were cut. What do you do? How do you pivot into corporate contracts or state contracts or local contracts? And what are some other streams of revenue that you have within your business so that you're not folding if you don't get those government grants or those federal contracts? This is a discussion that we're having presently. I always like to say have the business continuity plan or have your own succession planning to prepare for the what next, so you're not surprised, so you're not taken off guard, so that you are prepared. If you have to get reassigned or if you need to find a new job, you already have your resume updated. You already have your 3 month savings. So that way you can at least last for 3 to 6 months for that pivot. You already have your network in place. So you can make those phone calls, or you can send your resume to those people to advocate for you to help you get into that next job. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Many people are finding out the hard way they weren't ready. They ultimately were blindsided, caught off guard, trying to scramble, even doing the basic things. Your employment file, we should always have that updated, right? With all of your SF-50s for the government employees, your performance reports, your history of your pay. But how many people thought about that before January? Also, for the entrepreneurs, you should always have your business continuity plan, your succession plan. But how many people actually thought about that before COVID-19? After COVID-19, even after we had a whole pandemic that forced the shift. And then now with the furloughs and everything that's happening with the government, how many people were prepared for the pivot? So that is what we are helping you with today, to help you prepare for that pivot so that you don't have to get ready. You're not scrambling. You stay ready for the what next.
Absolutely. Those were some excellent points for professionals, Dr. Ebony. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you said something that's key. You know, we should ensure, professionals should ensure that they are prepared, that they are being proactive, that they are doing all of the things that are necessary so that if there's a need for them to pivot, they're already positioned to pivot so that they don't have to prepare because they're already prepared. So thank you for those excellent tips. I do believe, you know, that there are some variances, of course, in the private sector and in the federal government, but there are a lot of things that are changing. So I think it's also, I think, good for us to talk about what can leaders in any sector, private sector, public sector, any organization, what can they do to ensure that they're attracting and retaining and developing the best personnel?
That is a great question, Dr. Dobson. The first things first is to figure out and assess what you need. Even with the federal government reduction in force, the one piece of advice that I would give to the agency leaders is assess, bottom line up front, what your organization needs in order to thrive and survive. So if you do have to go to bare bones basic, you have the top talent, you have the skills and abilities within your organization to keep things running. So look at your organizational chart, assess, who are my key personnel? Who are my top talents? Where are my gaps? Actually provide those surveys, right, to your workforce. Do the workforce skills assessment surveys so you can see who you have in your workforce. Sometimes you have top talent that you don't even realize because you haven't even asked the question.
Absolutely.
What's your education level? What certifications do you have? What special skill sets do you have? So I know if I need to move you around or pivot, I know that I already have the top talent on my team. And if I do have a gap, now I'm very aware of where my skills gaps are. So either I'm training my people or I'm recruiting the talent that I need in order to fill those gaps. And this goes for not only the federal, but also the private sector. What do I need? What's my future forecast in whatever industry or whatever customers you have? What are the future needs? So that way you're prepared. Let's say with AI, right?
Right.
Who has the skill set in artificial intelligence, or what type of training and skills assessments do I need to do in order to prepare so that, again, we don't have to get ready, but we stay ready for the future in cybersecurity, the future in intelligence,
Absolutely.
the future in
Absolutely.
housing, the future in finance, whatever industry you're in. That's bottom line up front. Take a step back, assess your workforce, look at the future forecast, do the skills assessment, and think about the gaps so that way you are prepared as an organization.
Absolutely. And you know, you talked about the development piece and the recruitment piece, and even incorporated the retention aspects for preparing for changes that need to happen within an organization. But there's one thing that I want to highlight that's also important. It's about when they're doing these surveys, because you mentioned the surveys to assess skills, education, and that's very important. But I think something else that's often missed is actually asking employees what they love, actually talking to them about what their interests are. You know, sometimes organizations are so busy to recruit and fill positions that personnel are no longer aligned with their purpose. They're not aligned with where they desire to be from a professional standpoint. So it's also getting the insight from personnel and staff on what they desire. I think that is very important, because many organizations do a realignment or a restructuring, and they put people in positions that they have absolutely no interest in. And they wonder why they had a thriving, successful employee in one role, but they were not performing well in the other role. Maybe they put someone into something that didn't align with their purpose or that they didn't love doing. So I think that's key as well. What's your perspective on that?
And that's a great point of continuous communication. Sometimes we get so caught up in being behind the computer or the day to day, having those large scale meetings, we forget just the basic art of communicating one on one.
Yes.
Ebony, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can support you with? Just a simple conversation, being able to build that relationship of trust as a leader so that your people know they can come to you and have a conversation without fear of being penalized,
Absolutely.
without fear of a supervisor saying, "Oh, you think you want to leave? I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent you from leaving and pivoting." You should want your personnel to grow and develop. And as a leader, I want you to leave me eventually. I want you to be better than me. And sometimes as leaders, we feel like we have to hold on, especially those star performers. Oh no, Dr. Dobson, she's my greatest asset in the organization. So I'm going to do everything in my power to keep her right here and not allow her to flourish. Why wouldn't you want Dr. Dobson to be a senior executive? Why wouldn't you want Dr. Dobson to flourish and thrive where you want to be, not where I want you to be? And the continuous, we do the performance evaluations, but the continuous conversations, whether it's
Right.
an everyday scrum meeting, right? 5 to 10 minutes with your whole entire staff, and you ask them the simple questions: what did you accomplish? What do you have planned? And how can I support you? The one on one meetings where you're talking to your staff:
Great
are you
question.
fulfilled? How can I support you as a leader? What are your future goals? Just checking in, simple communication. So that way it's not a surprise when somebody ups and quits because they're so unhappy or they're not performing. You're actually a part of their growth and development. That is a key attribute of a leader.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that um that it is, a requirement. I think that it's a requirement for leader, and a lot of leaders don't do this. But I think it's essential, that leaders prepare individuals in their organization to, develop. They find out what their interests are, what their aspirations are, and that they empower them with the resources and tools to do that. You said something, it's important for leaders to position the leaders within their organizations, because I believe within every one of us is a leader, to be able to progress and grow and develop. So you talked about future goals. And I think that when we talk about future goals in our career and our development, I believe purpose is a big key in that. So what's your perspective on the importance of purpose in our lives and in our careers?
So the one thing that I ask all of the people that I work with, whether they're my subordinates, teammates, even my directors, I will say, what's your why? Why are you here? What are your future goals? So, you know how we talk about elevating to the top, but I've actually had my peers and those that were underneath me to say, my goal is to retire. My goal is to be a mother, right? I want to leave the organization and be home. My goal is to elevate. I want to take it all the way to the top. I'm trying to work to be the secretary of the agency. But what are your goals? Not my goals, because sometimes we put our goals and our expectations on others when that's not even what they want to do. And then we get disappointed, right? I want you to be the junior me, and I'm putting all my blood, sweat, and tears, and that's not even what you want. So
Right.
understanding and going back to your why, right? What is my own personal why? And developing goals around the why. And also for those that work with you and work for you, having them to establish goals that focus on their why, not yours, but their why. What's your goals? What's your future plans? And how can I support you on those next steps? That is essential in future planning and pivoting.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And, I know that, we talked about being able to plan, being able to pivot, being able to have success. And we talked about what taking back your power looks like for both the professional and for leaders within an organization. And, I know that you have a new book. I want us to talk about your new book because I believe that your new book is beneficial. It's beneficial for people who are watching this. So can you tell us a little bit about your newest book that will help professionals?
Yes, so I am always overdoing it, an overachiever. So I have two books. So the first is for the babies, right? Preschool is where the magic starts. So preschool is where the magic starts. So it's for those little babies starting preschool, going to their next journey, just trying to figure out life. That's where it starts, right? You have to teach that love for school, for learning, for curiosity from the beginning. And then fast forward to the future for leaders. Now it's beyond the lens. And my chapter is a call to lead. You can be called to lead even in diapers at 2, at 3, at 4, at 5. You're the leader of the class. You're the person that's raising your hand. You're the person that's choosing the books for the teacher to read. Then, as we go beyond the lens, a call to lead, we're talking about the steps to become a leader. How you can lead where you are. Many people think they have to have the title of director or manager or a leader, and that's not necessarily the case. You can lead on a team. When we were in the military, Dr. Dobson and I both served in the Air Force. We've been leaders since we put on the uniform. You have to lead from the front, right? Service before self, integrity first, excellence in all we do. We've always been leaders. So when it comes to like putting leadership on your resume, we've been leaders since we were 18, 19 years old. And we had continuous professional development as leaders. So we weren't just dumped into that role. We actually had intense training from the time we were senior airmen, NCOs, senior NCOs, and on a job training so that we can learn our position. And I find that
Yeah.
many corporate positions, private positions, they don't have that. The federal government, they don't have that. And that's a big gap because how do you drop somebody in a position and then tell them they have to lead? So a call to lead is really talking about how you can lead from where you are, the different pathways and journeys to leadership. And that's what I think is essential for us to learn today. How do you lead where you are?
That's awesome. And thank you so much, Dr. Ebony, for sharing that insight on your two newest books. So, something for professionals and something for the younger leaders who are just starting pre K. So, thank you for sharing that. So, you said a few things. And I heard about preparing yourself for leadership and being able to lead where you are and lead in so many different capacities. The Purpose Professionals community, we've been doing a series on purpose for success. What are some key things that individuals can do to position themselves for success?
Number one, your network directly impacts your net worth. Really sit down and assess who's within your network. Who are you connected to on LinkedIn? Who are you connected to in your personal life, your educational life? Who are you connected to And maybe some of these professional organizations, fraternities, sororities, your faith-based organizations, but who are you connected to that can help you to get to that next level? Your network directly impacts your net worth. The second part is going back to your network. Who's in your starting five, your lineup? Do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have these professional organizations that you're part of that are helping you to grow and develop? Do you have that stakeholder that's going to advocate for you to get you in the door? And do you have that person that you can just talk to? Sometimes you just need to brain dump and brainstorm, but understanding who's in your starting five and being purposeful. Then that third part, establish goals. What are my goals? Dr. Dobson and I just had a conversation. What's our goals? I said over the next quarter, Dr. Dobson took me to the next level and said, no, what are your goals for this month? What can you realistically accomplish this month? But establishing realistic, measurable, and time-bound goals. So that way you can actually work towards achieving those goals. Not something like, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire tomorrow. Is that realistic? But I can say, I want to be a billionaire, but here's the steps that I'm going to take this month to work towards that goal. And maybe for this month, my goal is to make 100,000, and here's how I'm going to establish that goal. So having those time bound, measurable, and achievable goals and break it down into a month, a quarter, a year, and then take it all the way to the extreme to 5 years. What are your 5-year goals? Because you could be working today towards that 5-year goal. So those are my top three: your network, having your starting five, because they are going to push you to that next level, and establishing those goals.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ebony. I really appreciate that. And, and everyone should be using that approach with the goals, the SMART goal model. And if they're not specific, if you can't be specific about it, you can't make sure you have a way to measure it, you're not having something that's stretching you enough, but it's within the realm of, what you can do based on the steps that you're going to take, the actionable steps that you're going to take, making sure that you have a way that it's relevant to your overall big picture. You said it earlier. What's your why? And then having something that's time bound. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you talked about expanding it out all the way up to 5 years. And we would hope, to challenge you to even go beyond that as you continue to grow. Now, you gave some excellent strategies. Is there anything specific? Because you and I, we've paralleled in so many ways. And for those who are watching, Dr. Ebony and I met in the Air Force at technical training school. So early in our Air Force careers. So we've known each other for over 27 years at this point, and have been friends so we're coming close to 30 years, 30-year friendship. So I'm grateful. And I know that you and I have both served not only in the military, we've served our country, but we've also served in the public sector, in the federal government. And so because we've had an opportunity to see, and both have insight on policy in two different ways, for the agencies that we work for, we can see a lot of things that are occurring. Is there anything specific, for federal employees that you would give them as advice to really help them for success and to continue to work towards ensuring that they're retaining their power?
Yes. So first things first is take back your power. I will confess, on January 1st, I just didn't know what to expect. So anytime that we change political climates, we change what's going on in our specific agencies, no matter what. So you walk in the door and you don't know what to expect. What is going to happen? Who's my new leadership? What's the goals and priorities for my agency? That's the first thing. You need to research your strategic plan and understand the goals and priorities of your agency today for 2026. What are the goals, of your agency for 2026 and beyond. If you haven't looked at your strategic plan, you're already behind. Understand your strategic plan and how you fit into that strategic plan. Not yesterday's strategic plan, but today's. So do your research, look up your strategic plan. Number 2, make sure your professional portfolio is up to date. We do not know what's happening from day to day. You need to have your employee file downloaded and accessible to you, so you understand your years in service, your current pay, your SF50, all of the information and data that you need to go to step 2, just in case you have to pivot unexpectedly. And make sure all your information is up to date. When's the last time that you checked all of your information? That is essential. You should be doing that at a minimum once a year. But for me, I would recommend every month. Just go on and check your stuff. And then your thrift savings plan. So your retirement savings plan. Go on and do maintenance. You should be checking that at a minimum every quarter, because we get the quarterly statements,
Right.
or monthly, just looking, how are my investments allocated? How are my investments performing? Do I need to adjust? Maybe I need to put a little more, a little extra in there, or maybe I need to take some back. But to assess where you are and understand your numbers. When I first started at my agency, the first question that I asked was, what's my retirement numbers? So I started backwards. What's my date when I'm eligible to retire? What's my numbers? Like, how much am I going to get? If I was to retire tomorrow, but what's my numbers? You need to make sure that you have all that down. Make a checklist, like use ChatGPT and say, provide me with a checklist of everything I need to do to prepare for a pivot from the federal government, just in case, so you're ready. Then let's talk about your professional portfolio, your resume. What just happened in September? We went from that old long 25-page resume that I know you probably still have, down to the 2-page resume. So making sure at a minimum that you've updated that 2-page resume with all your relevant information, making sure that you have all your performance reports, all of your accomplishments over your whole career, just in case. But that way you have your whole package together. Then think about, because guess what? The federal government may not be your end all be all. You may have to pivot. So go to ChatGPT. I love AI. So use your AI tools, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude AI, Perplexity, and ask the simple question. Based on my current resume, you can upload your resume. Based on my current performance reports and my experience, you can upload that experience or copy and paste your experience. Please provide me with the top 3 careers that I could potentially pursue post federal government. Maybe if you don't want to go into a different career, maybe it's a business. Provide me with the top 3 businesses I should pursue based on my background, my skills, and my abilities, so you can at least get a template, an idea of where you should pivot. And then you can start researching, looking up those positions, making sure that you have that experience, or maybe you need to get some certifications, but you're at least mentally able to see where you can go, and maybe network with some people from that particular career field, right? Start researching that career field so that you can be prepared for that pivot. So those would be some of the things that I would suggest in order to help you be purposeful in your pivot and take your power back, so that we go back to, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Absolutely. And those were some excellent tips. Thank you so much, Dr. Ebony. And, I always have the lens to, faith, right? For me, I really believe that, God can lead us. He knows everything. So I think because he's our creator, you know, he knows the purpose and plans for our lives, and he also knows what's coming, right? I know a lot of people have had expectations in the federal government, but I think that's I think that's the priority there is, you know, ensuring that we remain prayerful, you know, in the decisions that we're making. And I think in that we can actually know, even though there may be uncertainty for people who work in the federal government, maybe there's uncertainty with where their agency is going for people. But I think with prayer, we can actually have some insight on what's coming, even though it may not be something that's broadcast. So that's at least, you know, the other thing I think that I would add, you know, as a priority for, you know, for people of faith. I think that's very, very, very crucial. Now, you gave some excellent tips. And I'm just going to say, for those of you who heard Dr. Ebony talking about the resume transitioning in September to 2 pages instead of, you know, the endless number of pages that you may have had, 12, 25, 8, whatever it is, Dr. Ebony does have a resource on her YouTube channel that shares specifically insight on the 2-page resume and OPM's requirements. So I do encourage you to go and view that. Now, Dr. Ebony, there's a lot of insight in your book that you mentioned, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but I want you to talk more about specifically where viewers can go to buy Beyond the Lens, and for their babies, for their grandkids, for their nieces and nephews and godchildren, you know, whomever. Pre-K is where the magic starts. I just want to highlight that again for people who, you know, want to go and purchase those books. So can you share where viewers would go to purchase those books?
Yeah, so both of them have been released on Amazon. So you can find it on Amazon, and I will share the links with you all in the chat. Pre-K is where the magic starts, is on Amazon right now. You can go purchase it, get it for your babies, grandbabies, or your godchildren. Go on and get it, or for your local schools so they can read it to the babies to help them to love pre-K. And Beyond the Lens will be released on Tuesday. We are releasing tomorrow on Amazon, hoping to be the #1 bestseller. So both of those books are available and released on Amazon. Please help us to get to #1 bestseller, and they will transform your lives, whether you're a baby transitioning into pre or you're a leader. You have the call to lead, transitioning into a leadership position.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Gray. And I know we talked earlier about the services, just a little bit about the services that you provide with Gray's Consulting Group, but can you talk a little bit more about that? Share some additional insight of the services that you provide to clients. And if there's anyone who's interested in Gray's Consulting Group or Gray's construction, what they would need to do to find out more or to inquire about your services.
Yes, and Dr. Dobson, I wanted to go back to one thing you said about prayer. So one thing about taking my power back during all the pivots and all the transitions, sometimes it's essential just to pause. Just pause, pray, meditate, and just stand still. Many people were scrambling, right? January, February, March, April, just scrambling. But what if you just took 5 seconds just to pause, just stop and observe and purposely pray and purposely prepare for your pivot to ask God, what's next for me? What do I do? So don't forget that. Just take that time just to pause, pray, and ask God to help you clarify your purpose for your pivot.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Dr.
with
Gray.
Gray's Consulting Group, yeah, look, thank you. That was on my heart. Like, just pause. We always want to just
Yes.
go with the action. Just stop.
Yes.
Just stop
Yes.
and pause.
Yes. And I'm
So
glad you
could be
said that.
purposeful in your pivot.
Yes. Yes. I'm so glad
Yes.
you said that, because what I was going to do, or let me say it this way, what I did was not what I was going to do, because I prayed first. And, I had something at the beginning of the year that I wanted to do, and I prayed about it. And I can be transparent and say that I actually was thinking of like resigning from my job, because I felt like it was time to pivot. I could feel it in my spirit that it was time for me to pivot. So I prayed about it and I asked God. He's like, no. He's like, I have something for you. You're going to retire this year. Don't resign. And I was like, okay, God, whatever you say, I'm going to do it. And that was in January, the beginning of January, that I prayed that. And on January 28th, the fork in the road email went out. Subject line, fork in the road, for the deferred resignation program for DRP. And within those provisions, if you became eligible to retire under the standard retirement, you talked about finding out your eligibility, or retire under voluntary early retirement, if you became eligible during that time that you were on leave, you could switch to a retirement. And so I wasn't even gonna apply for DRP, because my agency had not yet released the information for how they were going to do voluntary early retirement authority, VERA. But I prayed about it. And the direction that God gave me was to reply to the email and volunteer. And 2 days after I replied to the email and volunteered, the agency sent out an email to all managers saying that the only people who they were going to extend voluntary early retirement authority to were the people who applied for DRP. So again, you said pause.
Yes.
You
and
said
you
purposefully pray. So had I not done that, it would have been a detriment to me. If I would have went ahead and resigned without praying about it, I would have walked away with what was left on the table that I would have missed, that I didn't know what was coming later that month. So, God gave me the insight and the wisdom to be able to make the right decision. And so I'm grateful and thankful to God for that. So at 25 years in service, 14 years federal, 11 years Air Force, praise God, I'm able to retire this year. And so that would not have been made available to me had I just did my own thing, right? And even with the whole DRP, I wasn't gonna apply, right? Because I was wanting to wait until VERA was announced. But
scary and unfamiliar too.
It was unfamiliar territory. People didn't know. And when I prayed and God said, reply, I replied. And I had a lot of people telling me, you shouldn't do that. But I had peace, because I knew I was doing what God told me to do. So, I think that's the key: prayerfully praying, purposefully praying, right? And taking the moment to pause. So thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for saying that in that way, because I saw a lot of people around me panicking, right? And then I also saw people who didn't do anything, and then they got riffed. They thought they were okay because they had over 10 years of service. And, and it's unfortunate. My heart goes out to all of those people. And I just pray that anyone who lost their job, anyone who is furloughed, anyone who is impacted by what is going on with the government shutdown, that God would give you peace that passes all understanding, and that God would take care of everything concerning you, and that you would know and understand that your provision doesn't come from the government, but your provision comes from God. God owns everything. A cattle on 1,000 hills are his. Everything belongs to him. He created us. He purposed us. before he even put us here, he created everything that we need for life and godliness. So I just pray that your families, your households, everyone who you're connected to, that God would give you peace, and that he would not only meet any need that you have, but that he does according to Ephesians 3, and that he does exceedingly abundantly, far above all you can ever ask or think. That is my prayer for you. And that God would bless your going out. He would bless your coming in. That is my prayer for you. And that everything that you have need of, that God not only does that, but he does exceedingly abundantly, far above all you can ask or think. So thank you again,
Yes.
Dr. Gray, for saying that. And that's my prayer for those who are watching.
Yes. And again, speaking of purposeful prayer, that's why Grace Consulting Group exists. So you have to align yourself with people that are in line with who you are. And Grace Consulting Group, we help you to get to that what next. I am a certified coach. I don't just coach civilians, I coach federal government executives. I coach transitioning veterans. And by God's design, I coach transitional spouses, transitioning military spouses, because they came to me and said, we need your help in pivoting. So if you are caught up in the rift, if you were caught up in the DRP, if you were unfortunately one of the ones that received the notice recently with the furlough, I am here to help and support and guide you towards your what next. But I want you to pray about it first, right? Pray,
Yeah.
ask God, what is it that you want me to do? And then reach out to me, reach out to Dr. Dobson to help you with your what next, so we can help you purposely pivot. My call in life is to serve and to help you to execute and get to the next level.
That's good. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. And so for anyone who wants to contact you, Grace Consulting, what is the approach? What are the steps that they need to take? What do they need to do? How do they reach out to you?
You can go to www.graceconsultinggroup.com and click that book now button and go ahead and book us for your career strategy session or your business strategy session or your grant writing session if you're looking for money. But book us today for a one-on-one session. You also can sign up for our newsletter, which you can do that right on the website as well. So you can get updates, insights, tips on future jobs, tips on the 2-page resume, tips on how to launch your business. We are here to support and help you to pivot, but not just pivot. My moniker is execute. We're going to get it done. You're not just going to sit, right? So you can pause and pray and pivot, but that keyword is execute. You actually have to submit the resume. You actually have to launch that business, right? So that is what we are helping you do. So go on to graceconsultinggroup.com and allow me to help you not only pivot, but execute to your
That's
next
good.
level of success.
That's good. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for that. I really appreciate everything that you've shared today. This has been an amazing discussion. You and I, we could talk on and on and on and on and on and on and on. We could keep talking, but I think the purpose to pivot and taking back your power, this has been a great discussion. I know a lot of people have so many questions, and we're going to try to answer everything in the chat. But if we don't get a chance to answer everything in the chat, then certainly everyone can reach out to you and they have your information. So is there anything about Gray's Consulting Group, about yourself, or about your newest books, or anything else that we haven't had a chance to talk about today that you would like to add as we're wrapping up today's session and discussion.
Yes, so me and two of my partners, so Miss Stephanie Green and Tracy Ford, we've been working together to help people elevate into government contracting, but specifically the USPS, the United States Postal Service. So I am super excited. We just had our second cohort. All the members from our cohort have successfully submitted their contracts. They've successfully submitted response to proposals, so RFPs. So we help them to understand the process. We help them to draft their first proposal, and we help them to actually execute and submit. So one of our mentees was just awarded two contracts for Pennsylvania. He is working on submitting for his third, working on getting funding, but we're super excited to help entrepreneurs to get to the next level to actually execute. So many people feel overwhelmed when it comes to government contracting. Where do I get started? They're looking at all the YouTube gurus, but we actually help people from the beginning to the end. So I'm super proud. We're launching the cohort 3, but we want to know if people are interested. So please let me know if you're interested in signing up for cohort 3 for the USPS program. But also, again, connect with me. If you're struggling with how to pivot, don't know what you're going to do next, maybe you're in crisis mode, right? That check stopped October 1st, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get that next job, or what to do in your business. Please take time to connect with me. Just a question, because I can give you free resources, or you can always book with me one-on-one so that I can help you pivot the right way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. And congratulations to all of the business owners and to you and your colleagues for the success with the grants that were, the proposals that were submitted, and for the contracts that were awarded. So congratulations. And I want to also congratulate you again on your 2 newest books, Beyond the Lens and the book for the babies. Pre-K is where the magic starts. So congratulations again on those 2 newest publications and bestseller status. So for the babies, go get Pre-K is where the magic starts on Amazon. And for the professionals, the adult professionals, Beyond the Lens. And you definitely want to reach out to Dr. Gray and talk to her about where you are. She has a plan that she can help you to execute successfully. So I have her contact information there. And then I want to thank you again. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for being a guest today on Purpose Today. Certainly, we're going to have you come back because there's so much more that we did not have an opportunity to unpack today. But Dr. Gray's email, the website, her LinkedIn profile, all of that is on the screen so that you can reach out to her. And Dr. Gray, thank you again. It's been so great speaking with you today as we've talked about purpose to pivot and taking back your power. So thank you again. I know you're going to go backstage, and so I'll see you here shortly backstage. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray. Thank you, Dr. Dobson. I truly appreciate you, and it's been an honor to spend time with you and your audience today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you again to all of the viewers, those of you who are watching. Thank you, everyone, for all of the engagement that you have put in the chat today. I certainly really appreciate all of you. Again, you can reach out to Dr. Gray. Again, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you all about Purpose to Pivot, taking back your power. If there's anyone who is watching this today and you feel, that you're in a position that you need to pivot, but you're not quite sure what you need to do, you're not sure how, email us at admin@purposetoday.com. I'm very excited for future episodes that we have coming up. And I do appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I do want to just thank you. Thank you for the engagement today. I really appreciate all of the engagement in the chat. So appreciate all of you. If you want to complete the Purpose to Profession Alignment Interest Form, the link, the website information, the URL is there on the screen. You can complete that Purpose to Profession Alignment Interest Form to just receive support and assistance on how to effectively be able to pivot. So thank you again for watching another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson. Very excited to have you all watching and tuning in today. Hope that you remain purposeful today and every day.